Friends, pals, my dudes, I got back from Norway. I bought a lot of yarn. Let me preface this by saying that this is fine. This is within the budget. This is not a crazed haul that wrecks my financial stability for the foreseeable future. This is fine. But I know it's a lot, and I'm excited to show you because this yarn means so many hours of fun, relaxation, new techniques, lovely presents for my loved people, and just squishy, gorgeous yarn. So here we go. It's overflowing. There is so much yarn. Okay, so this is a lot. We went to Norway. We were gone for just over a week. We were road tripping. We didn't have any big plans except see the country, go off of vibes, and do what we feel like. So we started by driving up the west coast of Sweden because we had borrowed my parents' car and they live in the south of Sweden. So we drove up the west coast and we hit Strömstad, which is a small town in Sweden. And in Strömstad, we went to just refuel, get some snacks, and while going to the grocery store, I saw that there was a yarn shop, and I was like, can we go in and look? Because I knew that we were going to Sandnes, where the Sandnes Garn outlet is, and therefore I didn't look at any of the Sandnes yarn in that store or any other stores, basically, because I felt like if I go to Sandnes Garn, that's obviously where I want to pick up their yarn. So I just poked around in that store and I found this from Leng Yarn. This is a pineapple fiber. So this is 70% lyocell and 30% pineapple. And this is 50 grams for 150 meters. And I got 4 of them. Hang on, where is the 4th? Is it on my lap? It's right here. So I got 4 of these to make a top. So either a tank top or a t-shirt, depending on how the gauge looks. So I'll be doing a gauge swatch for this, figuring out how dense I want the fabric to be, and then go from there, finding a pattern that will look good. So I was umming and ahhing between this and a lighter green shade because everything I love is green. But I ended up with this because I thought this would be more fall appropriate, and it's a bit of a thicker yarn, and it's a bit it's quite fibery, so it has small pieces sticking out, I guess because the pineapple fibers are quite short, and I wanted something that doesn't pick up fuzz, or where it's not as noticeable that it has picked up fuzz in those barbed pieces sticking out of the yarn. This was half price, so maybe other people know something that I don't, and this isn't a fun yarn to knit with, but I liked the color, I liked the feel of it. So it has not the woolly sort of fluffy texture, but a bit more of a papery texture, I would say. So that is the first thing I got on our trip. And next up, we went into Norway and we stopped in Tønsberg, which is in the Oslo Fjord area, and we didn't find a yarn store there, or we didn't look for one. But then the next day we drove to Kristiansand, and on the way we stopped in a small village to again have lunch, and I found another yarn store there. And in that store I found this gorgeous fluffy yellow 100% brushed alpaca yarn. So this is Fnugg, which is just an amazing name, by Camilla Pil. So this is a House of Yarn sub-brand. It is 50 grams and 80 meters. This is 100% an impulse purchase without a proper pattern in mind. I'm thinking either a small accessory like a hat, or I see how far this goes in a cardigan if I want to do a scrappy mohair and alpaca fluffy cardigan. So I'll be working up a swatch on this as well to see what I want. But I mean, this as a hat in the wintertime, I think that is what I'll be going for. But I'll see what I actually end up doing with this. So I only got the 2 balls because why get more yarn when I don't have anything other than a hat in mind? So this was the second purchase. Then comes the big guns. Between Kristiansand and Stavanger, we went into a small, we saw a sign on the road leading to a wool spinning factory. So we went there and we looked at the yarn, and we looked at some of the tapestries that they had woven, which was just beautiful, but I didn't have any pattern in mind specifically. I saw that they had these sets of pattern for mittens and the corresponding yarn for that as like a small gift package. I thought that was very neat, and that did remind me of my lemon mittens that I knit out of a thin sock yarn last winter, and how much I have regretted that I knit them in that thin yarn, and also that the yarn is 80% wool and 20% nylon, so it's not, it doesn't felt together the way that I want a mitten to do. So it's not very windproof, and it's a beautiful mitten, but it's not what I want it to be. I saw these mitten kits and I was very curious and I wanted to get one, but I realized that I don't want other mittens than my lemon mittens, and I want the lemon mittens to be right. So we went away, we didn't get anything there, but those mittens, they stayed in my mind for the rest of the trip. We then went to Sandnes, and that is one of the few places that I actually pinned for our trip on our shared Google Maps pin situation. And that's because I knew that I wanted to get yarn for my mother. I want to make her a camisole. I think I talked about this. When did I talk about it? Maybe it's in a video that I haven't posted yet. Anyway, I want to make her a camisole that is with Tunnlinne, which is her favorite yarn from Sandnes Garn. And why not get it from the actual Sandnes factory outlet in Sandnes if I can. This is 53% cotton, 33% viscose, and 14% linen. I got 5 of these to make the correct size. I have a pattern in mind for this, and this will be one of the projects I cast on in the next few weeks, because I want this finished for her birthday in October. I think she would really like it. These were full price. They had the Tunnlinne in other colors that were discounted, but those are not my mother's colors, so I went with this dusty blue, which I think will complement her wardrobe very well. It's 50 grams and 220 meters per ball. Also at Sandnes, they have their factory outlet floor with all of their yarns, and then they have their second, what is it called, andrahandssortering, so either yarns that were not perfectly up to their standards, or they are discontinuing a color, or something else is wrong with the batch, it was incorrectly spun or something, so they sell the yarn for a discounted price. And that's where I went in and did some browsing. I got the Tynn Per Gynt for myself, and I was umming and ahhing about this shade as well, and I figured I can't just wear green things. This is a great shade of blue, and I want to make myself a fall, winter, spring t-shirt out of it. It's 100% Norwegian wool, and it is 50 grams for 205 meters. So I don't have one specific pattern in mind for this either, but I have a few contenders in my Ravelry favorites. This will not be a priority for this fall because I have more time-sensitive gift knits that I want to focus on. But this is something that I am excited to start at one point or another. This was discounted. This was half price, I think, because I was there with my partner, and he was browsing and I was browsing, and he stumbled across this because this was in the discounted pile. This is a shade that they are discontinuing. I think they have slightly reformulated the shade because they have a very similar brown one in the same line, but this for some reason was discontinued. And this was also half price off. My partner did a very good job of looking up and comparing, making sure that the dye lots were good, because I have 15 of these. My partner is a large person and he needs a lot of yarn to cover his body in a sweater. This is the alpaca wool. So this is 60% alpaca and 40% wool. So I got the yarn in 3 different colors to make him a colorwork sweater with this aubergine color, this oatmeal color, and the brown. The brown will be the base color and these will be the contrast colors. And I think this will look really, really good. And this yarn is 50 grams for 100 meters. So we do need a lot of this skein to make a full adult sweater. We haven't decided on a pattern quite yet. I've sent him a few suggestions and he will be getting back to me. And this is going to be some sort of a gift at one point or another. If I make it to Christmas, that will be great. And if I don't, he will get it at some other point. I got 15 of the brown ones. I got 2 of the purple ones and 2 of the oatmeal ones. And that was the bulk of the yarn that you just saw me drop out of the bag. I then got these 2. These are alpaca silk, 70% baby alpaca and 30% mulberry silk. And these are so soft. They feel criminally soft. It feels very silky. And I got the off-white and the charcoal one. I got this because I wanted to knit a keffiyeh, so the Palestinian traditional scarf. I wanted to knit out of this. That will be a huge project. I don't know if I will succeed. I found a pattern, a free pattern on Ravelry for the keffiyehs, and I would like to make one for myself. I want to make it not very big, so it's more of a scarf than a shawl. Is that how you differentiate between the sizes? I want it to be a small scarf. I looked through the pattern and I think I'm going to knit the white background along with the thick black stripes representing the trade routes first, and then I'll be duplicate stitching the olive branches and the fishnet in the middle afterwards, because I think with knitting it with the color work would just require so many floats, and I don't trust myself being that consistent. And also it being a scarf, I would be taking it off or snagging the floats. So I think duplicate stitch is the best way to go for this pattern, but I will be doing some experimenting with this as well. And if that doesn't work, I have a shawl quantity right here, and I mean I will find a use for this, but the first plan is to make a keffiyeh, because art is political, crafts is political, how we spend our time is political, and I've been on the waiting list to order a keffiyeh from the only last standing Palestinian factory that actually makes genuine keffirs, but I've been on the waiting list for months, and honestly, I don't know if it's still standing. So I would be buying a knockoff kefir from Shein or from a street vendor that is made cheaply in China or with weird chemicals that aren't approved for human use in the EU. So if I can't buy a real one supporting real Palestinian craft people, I will be making my own because I want the political statement and the pattern. It's beautiful and this yarn is beautiful. So if I can make it work, it's going to be a proud piece. And if it doesn't work, it will still be a proud effort. So that's all for Sandnes, and we then continued on our journey. We went up to Stavanger, as I said, and we then turned and drove east over Hardangervidda. And at the very beginning of the Hardanger Fjord, we went into one of the small villages and went to eat something. And of course, there was a yarn store, and of course, I wanted to look into it. And by that time, the idea of the lemon pattern mittens had grown on me quite a lot. So I went for this very fun, almost sunflowery yellow and the white from Rauma Garn. This is their Finull. So this is Norwegian wool that is then spun in one of the valleys. So this is 100% Norwegian wool. It's 175 meters for 50 grams. So it's still quite a thin yarn. And this will definitely felt together better than the nylon mix that I had previously. So this is a project that I will be getting around to when and if I have the time. So one of the souvenirs that I will be keeping from this trip to Norway whenever I get around to knitting the mittens. And then we drove over the whole Hardangervidda, so through the fjords and then over the plateau and then down on the other side. And when we went to camp in one of the cities on the east slope of Hardangervidda, we went into the community to get some food. And of course, I saw a yarn store, and I knew that I wanted to cast on a pair of socks for my father because my father has quite large feet and I have only knit him one pair of socks. My great aunt, who used to knit for all of us, she eventually stopped knitting for the adults because they just inherited our grown out the socks that we had grown out of. But my father has bigger feet than any of us, so he didn't get any new socks for the last decade or so of my great aunt's life. And I knit him one pair of socks, and it took forever, but he has worn them and loved them. And I see him wearing them so much because they have stone floors at home, so he wears the socks basically all year round. And I would love to make him a new pair of socks that he can switch up with. And also I want them to be a bit thicker because those socks are quite thin from wearing out, but also from the yarn to begin with was quite thin. So I was looking at a bit of a thicker yarn for him, and I found the Alpaca Forte by Dale Garn in these three colors. His favorite color is blue, just like mine is green, and I wanted to make something out of this mix. So this is 80% alpaca for the softness and the fluffiness, and 20% nylon for the durability of the sock. So this will be able to go through the washing machine on a cold cycle, and he will be able to wear this happily, hopefully happily, for years to come. This is 50 grams for 133 meters, and this calls for a needle size 2.5 to 3. and I always knit on a 2.5 when it comes to my socks. And since I'm a quite tight knitter, I think this will be a very good winter sock for him. So this is the total yarn haul. I hate the word haul, but this is a haul from our trip to Norway. And when we went to Sandnes Garn, the plastic bag you get everything in, it says, when you knit, you take the fashion industry into your own hands. Slow fashion is about appreciation and longevity. And I really, really agree. So this is a sort of consumption. I realize this. I am consuming yarn. This is consumeristic behavior, and not but, and making clothing for myself, for my loved people, making art for myself and for my loved people is something that I can live with. If I were to buy my loved ones a tank top, a pair of socks, a knitted sweater, if I were to buy myself the t-shirt, the hat, the top, the mittens, the keffiyeh from a shady vendor where I can't trace the origin of the materials and the labor and the human rights that have gone into this process, I would not feel good about that. This does not make my conscience feel bad, if you understand what I'm saying. So yes, it's consumption, and it is art, and it is the more sustainable option when it comes to gift giving. So I am very happy with the yarn that I bought. I think I will have a lot of fun with the yarn. I think I will make beautiful things that will be appreciated either by myself or by people that I love and that I deem worthy to give a knit item to. So if you're curious to see what I get up to with this yarn, please subscribe to my channel. You will be seeing this yarn in future project vlogs, in future knitting podcasts that I try to upload every 2 weeks with my current works in progress and my knitting plans and my finished objects. I will be showing off there. And if you have any questions for me, please leave them down below. If you want specific locations for these places, for the stores, I can definitely find them. I didn't want to throw out different places and names of businesses, because if you don't need yarn, don't buy the yarn. But if you were looking for yarn, or if you are going to Norway and you are curious about different yarn stores, then absolutely, I'll tell you. I'll be happy to. So leave a comment, subscribe, like the video if you did like it, and stay tuned for my future videos on these yarns. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.